Africa, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 4th May 2023, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 8.4 of the Treaty Making and Ratification Act 2012, approves the ratification of the Bamako Convention on the ban of the importation into Africa and the control of transboundary movement and management of hazardous waste within Africa. As members of that opinion say aye. Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 9, motion, ratification of the Minamata Convention on Mercury. Question to be put.
Order, members, take the nearest seat. And our members now put the question at order number 9, that this House adopts the report of the Departmental Committee on Environment, Forestry and Mining on its consideration of the ratification of the Minamata Convention on Mercury, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 21st June 2023, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 8.4 of the Treaty Making and Ratification Act 2012, approves the ratification of the Minamata Convention on Mercury. As members of that opinion say aye. Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Now we'll go back to order number 7. Majority Leader, we are today supposed to have questions from directed to the Ministries of Public Works, Lands, Public Works and Housing, Labor, and Water, Sanitation and Irrigation. Before we start, Majority Leader, I see a letter here from the Minister for Labor and Social Protection, very casually stating that the Minister is on official engagement outside the Nairobi County, whatever that means. You are the one who coordinates that. Can I hear from you?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, it's indeed true that we had scheduled those cabinet secretaries, and as I communicated in the usual Thursday statement last week, the cabinet secretary for labor is among those cabinet secretaries who are to appear this afternoon. And Honorable Speaker, we also did resolve the same in the House Business Committee yesterday, and we expected her. Honorable Speaker, it's important for the House to note that we have rescheduled the appearance of cabinet secretaries through the House Business Committee twice in the last 2 weeks because of the urgency of the finance-related bills, the Finance Bill, the Appropriations Act, the Supplementary Appropriations Act, and all the other business that we had in the last 2 weeks. And therefore, these cabinet secretaries and the cabinet secretary for lands and housing were scheduled to appear 3 weeks ago. And twice we have had to reschedule them and communicated the same to the ministries and the cabinet secretaries. I have also been copied to the letter, Honorable Speaker, that is in your hands, and I have to agree with you that indeed this letter is not only discourteous, but is full of contempt for the House. Because the letter says that reference is made to the letter from the clerk, referenced above, dated 27th June, inviting me to respond to the above questions. I wish to notify that I will not be able to appear for the plenary session as scheduled because of an official engagement outside the Nairobi County. The purpose of this letter, therefore, is to request for rescheduling of the session to next Wednesday, 12 July 2023, in a time that is convenient to the members, and forward written responses to be presented during the plenary session. Honorable Speaker, as you have said, this letter is just not casual, but very contemptuous of the House. And it must be clear to all our cabinet secretaries that they don't appear before the National Assembly or before Parliament as a favor to anybody. they appear before these elected representatives of the people to be accountable to the people of Kenya. And allow me, Honorable Speaker, to begin first by apologizing to the members. The member for Konoin, the Honorable Brighton Yegon, the Honorable Member for Ayata, Honorable Basil, and the Honorable Member for Kiambu, Mashua Waithaka, the Honorable Member for Kirinyaga, who came very early, seated behind me, Honorable Jane Maina, and the Honorable Joyce Kamene, the member for Machakos County, who had questions lined up for this Cabinet Secretary for Labor, the Honorable Florence Bore. Honorable Speaker was saying it is not just discourteous of a Cabinet Secretary to write such a casual letter, and not on Friday, and I'm sure she must be following, being a former member of this House, she must know that on Thursdays there is a statement from the House Business Committee that schedules business for the following week. She didn't write this letter on Friday. She has written this letter today. And that is why I say it's not just discourteous, it is contempt for the House. And we must make it clear as a House that we shall not allow any Cabinet Secretary, however powerful you think you are, however mighty you may perceive yourself, to hold the people's representatives with contempt and the institution of Parliament. We will do whatever it takes, Honorable Speaker, and all members of the Cabinet know what it can take to protect the constitutional mandate of this House and of Parliament. When I look at the questions that these members are asking, these are issues of grave concern to the people. And for a Cabinet Secretary to write a letter to say she is engaged in official business which you don't even define, and Honorable Speaker, let me disclose, I have just spoken to her on phone, and she's telling me she was going to inaugurate a board of NITA, National Industrial Training, something that she can reschedule within her own ministry. But the House sittings cannot be rescheduled to suit the whims of Cabinet Secretaries. And we will not allow that, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, none other than President William Ruto has made it clear in public, and I am certain even in Cabinet meetings, that the House, the business of the House takes precedence over any other business. And that is the tradition of Parliament. When you are a Cabinet Secretary and you're invited to Parliament, that is the business that takes precedence over any other official engagements. Not NITA, not attending funerals, not attending weddings. Whether you're in Mombasa, wherever you are, we don't care. Come attend to the concerns of the people. And we must make it clear to this Cabinet Secretary, Honorable Speaker. And as Majority Leader, I will never stand here to defend a Cabinet Secretary or indeed any member of government who is contemptuous of the House and contemptuous of the people of Kenya. Honorable Speaker, the President himself has even committed that he shall never hold a Cabinet meeting on a Wednesday afternoon, because he wants Cabinet Secretaries to appear before the House, not for us to come and admire them, for them to come and be accountable to the people, because the President has every intent on ensuring that his Cabinet and his administration is accountable to the people. Honorable Speaker, the Minister tells me when I call her that she can appear here at 7, and I told her it is not your business to schedule when to appear. It is the business of the House to summon you when the people want to summon you. Honorable Speaker, I said I must say this because the Honorable Florence Bore goes to the record of this House as the first Cabinet Secretary to fail to appear before the House. It is not a good record. But it must go on record, she is the first Cabinet Secretary in the history of the 13th Parliament to contemptuously fail to appear before the House. And this is behavior that we must not tolerate, so that it serves as a warning shot to others, as they used to say in vioja mahakamani, kwa wengine walio na nia kama yake. So, for the others who may have such intents, notice is served. And I say notice is served from none other than the majority leader, who has that responsibility to ensure that we schedule them and they appear. And they must appear, Honorable Speaker. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, allow me just to note that she had requested that if the House will still be sitting, and I told her that is not for me to decide. It is for the House to decide whether by 7 p.m. we can wait for her to catch her flight from Mombasa, from the NITA meeting. And I will leave that to the House, Honorable Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Majority Leader. You know, questions are limited to the first 3 hours of our sitting, from 3 to maximum 6. Secondly, you are right. In her letter, she says she wants to appear on Wednesday, 12th July. No minister appears in this House on their choosing. They come on the scheduled time of the House. So please communicate with the ministers, because you are the one who is the link, that the House takes a very dim view of any minister who does not come to the House, because under the Constitution, they are accountable to this House on behalf of the people of Kenya. Thank you. I'll only allow the minority leader if he has anything to say. Yes, Wanjala, what's your point of order? Yes.
Mr. Speaker, first of all, I want to thank the leader of majority for the issues he has raised against that very minister. This is the very minister who sent police officers to frog march a member of parliament when she had grabbed a house belonging to the honorable member before she even paid for the house. She has no respect for the elected leaders.
That is extraneous, Wanjala.
Sorry?
That is extraneous.
She is very arrogant. She has no respect for the elected leaders, and it is this house that vetted her. We are senior than her, and it must be on the record that we, as members of parliament, will be moving a motion to impeach that minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I'll only give the minority leader, and then we move to the next.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Your leader will speak for you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just came when the Honorable Leader of Majority was on his feet regarding this matter, Mr. Speaker. Ordinarily, I don't delve into matters of cabinet secretaries and their engagement with the House. But on this one, Mr. Speaker, I want to adopt in totality the sentiments that have been expressed by Honorable Chungwa, and add that there's something that seems to happen to people once they go to the executive. There are people who are in the executive who previously were in this House, like this particular honorable lady. Once they cross to the executive, they acquire some holier than life, bigger than life status, and they think that they can lord it over everyone. Mr. Speaker, as a matter of principle, this is the organ of government that oversights the other organs of government. Mr. Speaker, we oversight the executive, we also oversight the judiciary in terms of their budget, and we oversight the independent commissions. So this message must go out very clearly and loudly so, that regardless of who you are, and especially if you happen to sit in the cabinet, you must understand that apart from being answerable to the appointing authority, you are squarely answerable to this House. And if this House invites you, everything else can wait. In fact, must wait. and you run here to address the issues over which you have been invited. Mr. Speaker, I have heard a lot of complaints from my members here. A lot of complaints from my members here regarding this particular cabinet secretary about how contemptuous she continues to treat not only members of parliament but also the institution of parliament as a whole. This is something that cannot be countenanced, especially in the face of the 2010 Constitution, which bestows on this House enormous responsibility. Enormous responsibility. Mr. Speaker, let me say this. That if this House wants to protect its integrity, its credibility, and safeguard its independence and authority, it must use one such case as an example. Just take the boldest step and indict this cabinet secretary once and for all. Mr. Speaker, I will be more than happy. Honorable Chungwa, I'll be more than happy to second you if you are to move a motion here of impeachment against this cabinet secretary. And there are many. There are many, these kind of persons, these characters. There are many. Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, I don't engage with them, but my members do. But the reports I am getting is that there are a number of them who are behaving in a similar manner. We want to remind them, wherever they are, that you cannot wield any more power than people who have been elected by Kenyans and sent to this House to represent them and address the issues of concern to the whole country. You could be sitting in State House or in the Cabinet Office, in your Cabinet Minister's offices, but you must understand that this House has got authority over you. This House. So I want to really plead, and I'm seeing this letter, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this letter on the face of it is really insulting. This letter is dated 5th July, which is today. And I am told she was required to be here. I didn't know because I don't take much interest. But I am told she was supposed to be here today. If you got a letter inviting you to Parliament for whatever reason, either to a committee or to the whole House, for whatever reason, 3 weeks in advance, you cannot wait until the last minute and then you write to Parliament that you are engaged in some nebulous activity, in some dingy places. Mr. Speaker, you cannot do that. And in fact, I will be inviting, Mr. Speaker, as I conclude, I will be inviting my colleagues not to wait for the Honorable Chungwa to initiate that process. I would be inviting my colleagues, especially on this side, please proceed and initiate the process of sending this cabinet secretary home, and you will get my fullest support. Thank you.
Thank you. I will not escalate that debate. I think wherever the minister is, she has had order. The minister has had very strong sentiments from the leadership of the House, and I'll order, honorable members, order. Order, honorable members. Honorable Ichungwa, you just remind the minister her responsibility under Article 153 of the Constitution. Order. Will now have Minister Alice Wahome of Water, who is in the House. We'll move to that. Honorable members, and I want to thank the majority and minority leaders. This House is the center of the people's will. And ministers under Article 153 of the Constitution are accountable to the House. And the words of the Constitution say, whenever required, shall attend, not may attend or will attend, shall attend to the House. So, Honorable Chungwa, you are showing a good example as majority leader. And Wandai informed the minister that, and indeed all ministers, none of them comes to the House at their choosing. They come to the House when the House has material for them to come and attend to. So it's contemptible for a minister to write a letter and say, I'm not coming today, I'll come next Wednesday. She doesn't know what is there next Wednesday. Now we have the Honorable Minister for Water, Alice Wahome. We have about 4 questions for you. I want you to compose your answers. I should be done with you in an hour. Hold. The question must be asked first. The member for Alego Usonga, the Honorable Samuel Atandi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
And like we have evolved, Honorable members, Honorable Atandi, hold your horses. We allow the member, the questioner, to ask a question. He will have the second bite on a supplementary. I'll allow one joy rider, and if there is sufficient reason, I can give a second one.
Okay.
Honorable Atandi, you may ask your question.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I rise to ask question number 7 of 2023 in today's order paper. And as you have said, the question is directed to the Cabinet Secretary for Water, Sanitation and Irrigation. Question number 1. Could the Cabinet Secretary explain the steps that are in place to resolve the issue of collapsing dikes around Lake Kanyaboli, which caused floods in the area that displaced and destroyed property in Alego Usonga and Budalangi constituencies in May 2023? Number 2, could the Cabinet Secretary state measures being pursued by the government to conserve the lake in view of the fact that it is on the verge of extinction, despite being a source of tourism revenue for both the national and county governments of Siaya on account of its unique species of fish and its support to aquaculture and other associated human activities? Number 3, could the Minister indicate the timelines within which the affected victims whose properties were destroyed and who have been rendered homeless by the calamity, when will they receive compensation? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Atande. Honorable Wahome, may I proceed to answer?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I hope the mood is good, Honorable Speaker. May I take this opportunity to thank the honorable members who have forwarded these questions. I'll make my response to the honorable member who has raised this question, the member for Alego Usonga, Honorable Samuel Atandi. Honorable Speaker, the first question was to explain the steps in place to resolve the issue of collapsing dikes around Lake Kanyambori. Honorable Speaker, I wish to state that the flood control across the country is being implemented by the National Water Harvesting and Storage Authority. The purpose is to bring the effects of flooding to manageable levels by implementing projects that will reduce perennial flooding problem. Going to the question that he raised, Honorable Speaker, the Lake Kanyambari is a Lake Kanyambori is an oxbow lake found along River Yara. The river disconnected its course during the meandering stage, forming the lake. In 1968, the government of Kenya, in collaboration with Netherlands, constructed the retention dike to reclaim Yara swamp for agricultural purposes. The dike prevents water from the lake entering into the reclaimed land. Honorable Speaker, over the years, the stability of the dike has deteriorated. When the course to the lake got blocked, water gets its alternative route, and hence the breaking of the dikes, and submerge the farms, destroying, of course, properties along the way and displacing people. The ministry, through the National Water Harvesting and Storage Authority, Honorable Speaker, has put in place the following measures. One, restoration of old dike. The authority has resurveyed the old dike to ensure the narrow areas are expanded so that large volumes of water is contained within its course. The collapsed end or breached or broken section of the dike will be redesigned and constructed afresh to meet the functional integrity of the dike. We are also going to do dredging of the river channel. Due to continuous silting, Honorable Speaker, the river channel has also been affected by the silting. We will work on that to allow better flow and better depth of the river. Construction of the new dike in the areas where the water escapes and submerge the farms, the authority will survey, design, and construct new dikes. These measures will regulate the flow of the water downstream and protect people from the effects of the flood. The budget we have come up with, Honorable Speaker, is Kenya shillings 200 million, and this will enable the complete restoration of the dike to meet its full functional requirement. However, due to budgetary allocation constraints, Honorable Speaker, this can only be done in phases. In this financial year, 2023-2024 fiscal year, the government, through my ministry, has allocated Kenya shillings 30 million for the restoration of the dike. Honorable Speaker, we will be seeking the support of the honorable member and other members of this parliament or this parliament to support the entire budget along the year. Honorable Speaker, I go to question number 2. What measures are being pursued by the government to conserve the lake in view of the fact that it is on the verge of extinction, despite being a source of tourism revenue for both the national government and the county governments? Honorable Speaker, we have undertaken the following. A study on the lake catchment area to determine the intensity of the human activities which generate negative effects to the lake and River Yara. We will also sensitize the communities upstream to ensure that human activities are friendly to the environment and hence reducing the sediment in the lake or loading into the lake. We will also institute a program of dealing with desilting the lake and rehabilitate the deteriorated catchment area that will include the community around the lake. Honorable Speaker, I've been also asked to indicate the timelines. I would say it is immediate. The ministry is obviously not able to comment to the question on compensation, Honorable Speaker. These are hazards, natural causes. The ministry has no funding for compensation and will not be in a position to compensate property lost, lives lost. It's unfortunate, Mr. Speaker, but this is a natural disaster that cannot be placed on the government. When flooding occurs, the government is found in that situation, and therefore it is not a matter that the government would be able to to deal with. Thank you very much.
Does Rollins and French apply?
Mr. Speaker, sorry, I beg your pardon.
The famous case.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I do agree. You know, the movement of the river is something, it's just like when an animal is found on the road, the animal is supposed to be compensating the person who is driving the car, if especially the cow is yours, not the other way around. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Atandi, supplementary.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Let me say, Honorable Speaker, that I thank the Cabinet Secretary for the comprehensive and well-researched response which she has given to this House on the question which I raised. I just want to plead with her for the following: that one, if it would be possible for the authority to begin to work on this on the lake as she has promised, because right now, before the long rains begin, this is the moment which, if any work is to be done, it should be done now before the rains begin. That is my first prayer, Honorable Speaker. My second prayer is that she has indicated that there is an allocation of 30 million shillings which can be used to begin the work. And Honorable Speaker, I'm aware that this House allocated about 350 million shillings to address the questions of flooding across the country. And given that this particular flooding of Lake Kanyabuli is affecting livelihoods of about 20,000 people, about 10,000 people in Alego Usonga in 2 wards, Central Alego and Usonga wards, and also in Budalangi constituency. I was going to plead with her that out of this budgetary allocation, if she could consider increasing the allocation so that we sort out this issue once and for all. That is my second prayer, Honorable Speaker. And lastly, I wanted to tell her that as the area member of parliament, I'm going to cooperate with the authority to ensure that some of the recommendations she has put here that will require the intervention of the community to address the perennial flooding are handled well. I'm going to cooperate with the community and we work together on that. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Alice, I can take note that. I can take one joyrider. Yes, the Honorable Okello.
I thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, and I also want to thank our capable Cabinet Secretary, who is an immediate former colleague, and her response to the call of the House is very, very important, and I applaud her for that. Honorable Speaker, Nyando constituency is known for nothing but flooding. In fact, all across the country, whereas we struggle to speak Swahili, but we have one lady with a begging emblem saying Serikali Saidia every year. And Honorable Speaker, this is orchestrated by the perennial bursting of the riverbank, River Nyando, that causes great havoc to the people of that area. And every year, Honorable Speaker, we have to move to higher grounds. 3 schools have since permanently relocated to higher grounds, and we had to abandon former schools, putting aside monies, especially from CDF, to build a new school or new schools, Honorable Speaker. So it is a disaster that is not just in waiting, but it is a disaster in place.
You are making a speech. Ask a question.
Honorable Speaker, my question therefore is, whereas this is not a new phenomenon, what is in place by the ministry to address this perennial flooding of Nyando constituency? And again, there is Atao Head, which is a small island at the mouth of the river Nyando getting into Lake Victoria, which should be dredged to also help address this menace, Honorable Speaker. So I would want to hear from Madam Waziri whether I need to go back home and tell them to brace themselves for the longest haul, or there are plans in place to help us address this once and for all, Honorable Speaker. And I thank you for the opportunity.
Honorable Minister will take Wanjala as an additional joyrider.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's unfair when we ask questions, you call us joy riders, because the question belongs now to the House, and any member is supposed to
Enjoy the joy, Wanjala. Ask the question.
to contribute. But thank you, Waziri, who is our former colleague, and I remember I predicted to her that she will be a minister in the next government, and she will confirm that, and indeed she is today. As she is aware, Budalangi is known for flooding from two rivers, that is River Yala and River Nzoia. And these rivers require training and dredging. In fact, on Yala, you cannot build dikes because it is already in the swamp. So the best thing to be done is to train it and dredge to allow the waters to move into the lake. So what plans do they have? Because when you are allocating 30 million, it's meager, and yet you will allocate to other places with the dams, you allocate big monies, and they are just squandered. But this is about the lives of people who have cried year in, year out. Would she consider increasing the allocation? Because this affects the lives of people whose houses collapse every year, whose everything that belongs to them is washed away. And Mr. Speaker, we saw in Nakuru, when the dam broke and water went into people, collapsed people's houses, this government, Mr. Speaker, erected or built houses, new houses, in fact, permanent houses for those people in Nakuru. Why is it so difficult to build also houses for the people of Budalangi when they are affected by this flood that collapsed their houses?
Thank you. Last, Oundo. Alice, then you.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. As you are aware, when Wanjala suffers, I suffer more, because when they are displaced, they come to stay at my place waiting for the water to recede. Honorable Speaker, allow me also to ask the Minister or the Cabinet Secretary that while they are trying to solve the issue of Kanyaboli in Alego Songa as well as Mdalangi, please ask the technical people to also include the riverbed around Mahaba in Namuduru sublocation, as long as the Sidoho Dam, that now because of the flooding from Budalangi has now combined, now we literally have a river connecting Sidoho Dam and Nzoia River, essentially displacing close to about 100 households in Mahaba area. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Alice. You have attended supplementary, Jared Okello, Wanjala, and Oundo. If you can answer them in that order.
Thank you. The Honorable attendee, supplementary question is as to whether we can increase the amount of 30 million so that possibly we can do more work. And maybe when are we starting? We will start immediately because we now have the budget. But in terms of increasing the amount, I may not be able to commit now because the amount of 300 million that you have pointed out is actually 450 million Kenya shillings, but it is going to various rivers to deal with the same problem like the one facing your constituency. So for now, I think I will not be able to commit beyond 30 million Kenya shillings. But as we go along, possibly, and you could also visit our offices so that we can have a candid conversation about the funding and how constrained the funding is. The second question, supplementary one, is from Honorable Okero on Livanyando. The amount of 450 million shillings that I have talked about, where we have taken the amount of 30 million for the first dike. We also have 30 million for the Livanyando, and therefore all this work will move simultaneously. We are aware of the challenges of Livanyando and the perpetual flooding, but may I confirm that, and I'm aware, the long-term solution actually is the construction of Soy Koru Dam, which is a 20 billion